They have stopped actually progressing the case of radical Scottish independence and have become the governorship for English imperial rule. That's just the reality. I mean, people can deny it. They can call me what they like, say what they like. That is the reality, is it not, Al?
Well, in the post-colonial literature, I'm sorry to keep harking back to it because it gives you the framework of what happens. And we have a template for decolonisation. And the first stages of the decolonisation process is where the people vote for a dominant national party. They make that party dominant, but that national party has other interests, not just the people's interests. They have their own interests to look after. So then we get into the reality that the dominant national party reaches its own accommodation with the colonial power. And that's where we are with the SNP, or the new SNP. They've reached that accommodation, which means they're not going to rock the boat too much. They're just going to settle into that kind of equilibrium. And independence is not a priority now. I think people in recent weeks have found that members of the SNP, a lot of them, yourself, you've found as well, some members of the SNP don't prioritise independence anymore.
Well, actually, I was going to say a few of the SNP members do prioritise independence now. It's the majority that don't.
I think in post-colonial literature, what you also find is the different social groups in the society reflect different priorities. So you've got the bourgeoisie that's always gone into the pro-colonial camp, as it were, and we have that in Scotland big time. But then you've got the proletariat that, because their salaries might depend on the colonial power, public sector pay and all the rest of it, a lot of them go into that camp. So that's pretty much more the middle classes. And then you've got, as well, then you've got the lumpen proletariat, and I would say that's where the root of the independence movement is. It's what Alex Salmond found when he was talking about Dundee in 2014. He was standing in Dundee and he said on 12 Heads a while back that people were queuing up to register to vote. They were registering to vote for the first time ever. One guy hadn't registered to vote since the poll tax. They had just completely gone out of the way. And the reason they were registering to vote is because they said there was something to vote for, independence. Up until then, there was nothing to vote for. What you've got is the working class. The roots of the independence movement is the Scots-speaking working class that knows oppression. We know oppression. We've lived with gas meters, try to find a shilling and all the rest of it. We've lived with all that crap, and people were brought up in the 50s, 60s and 70s. We remember all that, and we're getting back to that now. We're getting back to the poverty. We're getting back to the marginalisation of groups of Scottish working class, underclass, whatever you want to call it. We're getting back to that inequality. I know from the university sector, having worked in it for 25 years, that that's one of the areas where inequality looms large, where the elites get a free, passage into the system and the working class can't get into it for a whole number of reasons. But they didn't have the opportunities.